But look, let's talk about what everyone in sports is really talking about this morning. And that's the Cowboys, who just dropped one of the all-time no-shows and gag jobs really in NFL history. I mean, that was remarkable. The Cowboys, just to let you know how disappointing they are the first team to win at least 12 games in 3 consecutive playoff seasons without making a conference title game. So in other words, there's never been a 3-game stretch in NFL history where a team has won more and has had less to show for it than the Dallas Cowboys. And those who want to play they suck. No, they don't suck. They're pretty good. They've got an awful lot of talent. But they've got a head coach who clearly did not have that team ready to play at kickoff. And I do think that that's a fireable offense. At some point in time, you reach the end of a road with a guy. And I think that they've reached the end of that road with Mike McCarthy, especially when, I mean, if Jerry Jones isn't sending a private plane to Bill Belichick's house today, he's out of his mind. You're going to let the greatest coach in NFL history go take a Falcons job before you give him the Godfather offer to come in and save the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, that would be insane. So what a stunning turn of events from the Dallas Cowboys, who say whatever you want.
I mean,
really good at home all year.
Jerry's old. He's 81. He's 28 years removed from his last Super Bowl appearance. And, McCarthy's got 1 more year left on his contract. And he's got a great record. He's 42-25 in 4 regular seasons. He's got 3 straight 12-win seasons. He won the NFC East in 2021. He won the NFC East again this year, but they just have 1 playoff victory. They're just, that's it. They don't win in the playoffs. And why do they not win in the playoffs? Because they haven't been one of the better teams. You can rip Dallas all you want, and I just think that it was all there for you to look at with their profile. They were a front runner. They beat 6 or 7 bad teams by an average of 30 points a game.
And they're bad against the run.
All the other games that they played against good teams were close or they lost. So this was a really good team rolling in, and I expected them to go down. I can't sit here and tell you I expected them to go down and then say, oh, my God, I can't believe it. I can believe it. Dallas is a front runner. They can't stop the run. And guess what? Green Bay rolled in and ran it, and Green Bay had great balance, but Green Bay ran for 143 yards, and Aaron Jones averaged 5.6 a carry. So they couldn't stop the run again, and they're just built to win one way defensively. They can't stop the run. So what they have to do is their best defense is their offense. Their offense gets a lead, makes you one-sided, and then they pin their ears back and they sack the quarterback. So that never happened yesterday. They never stopped the run. They didn't get a lead. So guess how many sacks they wound up with?
0.
None. 0. I mean, think about the pass rushers on this team. Dorrance Armstrong, Micah Parsons. I mean, Osa from UCLA is a major rusher. DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, they get after you. They absolutely go after the quarterback. They had 3 hits on the quarterback all day and no sacks. They had 1 tackle for loss. Their defense makes no impact. Green Bay just hung half 100 on them because in reality, they called off the dogs in the beginning of the 4th quarter after they scored that last touchdown. Then they brought in the backup quarterback to hand it off. So, they got torched. I expected them to go down. That's what they do in the playoffs. I think McCarthy is a decent coach, but nothing great. And, I think it's interesting that, there was a lot of talk that Belichick is waiting for some of these playoff teams to potentially have a crushing loss so he can jump in there. Immediately, I thought of Dallas and Philly. Dallas and Philly are probably going to go down this weekend, and they both could use Belichick. And, Belichick's got the 6 rings with New England and 2 with the Giants. And so there you go. Some of the players in Dallas this morning, Damon, are standing up for Mike McCarthy. But you know what? It's just the bottom line. I think Prescott's got to take a lot of blame as well. I mean, he had a bunch of turnovers.
He had 2 turnovers, but he had 3 touchdowns and a 400-yard day passing, and they obviously threw it into we're only passing mode because they had to play catch up. But you look at some of Dallas's numbers, like they had 37 first downs. They were 10 of 16 on third down. That's usually good enough to win right there. But they were chasing the scoreboard all day long. Again, it was 27-0 before the Cowboys even decided to get to the stadium. So when you put yourself in a hole like that in the postseason, you're in an awful lot of trouble. And it's also unfamiliar territory. Saw this note too. Dallas hadn't trailed by more than 8 points at home all year. And again, they're down 27-0 before they get anything going. So
just couldn't cover Dobbs on any of the long passes.
No, which is weird because they got a decent secondary. I mean, it's just a weird day.
Yeah. I mean, CeeDee Lamb and Prescott had an odd vibe going on. It was like, Green Bay obviously tried to take away CD and did a good job of it. And then Dallas, Dallas in a lot of ways, I mean, it's kind of a weird situation, but they are kind of a one running back, one wide receiver team. I mean, Michael Gallup is a good player. But if you look at Dallas, they're like the Niners have multiple receivers, multiple running backs. Dallas is, if you take away Pollard, they don't have a second runner. And if you take away CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and Brandon Cooks, I don't know, they're just all right. So
the worst thing that you can be as a head coach is unprepared. And it just looked like the Dallas Cowboys were unprepared for either their opponent, the moment, the circumstances. Like there's a lot of different things that check that you were unprepared for that category when you're down 27-0 at home instantly. But that's just, I do think, and look, I'm not a coach who's had an incredible amount of success, but keeps on flaming out in the playoffs. Therefore, he's got to go. But I've never seen a team kind of no-show to a first quarter in the postseason at home quite like that. So I do think that has reached a you gots to go. And also,
just to push back,
part of the you gots to go equation is, well, who would you replace him with? Now there's, okay, so Bill Belichick is an option. That's a you gots to go situation.
Is Bill Belichick going to make this offense better? I mean, the offense that Bill Belichick ran in New England was pathetic.
I don't think
how much of this is McCarthy and how much of this is the D coordinator who may wind up coming here next if Wilkes winds up leaving. I think, you got Prescott threw for 4 bills. Now, a lot of it was in garbage time. Dallas ran for almost 5 yards a carry. They had 200-yard receivers and a tight end that caught 10 balls and 3 touchdowns. It's their defense. I mean, their defense is just terrible. That
defense was ranked number 1 in the NFL when they played the 49ers earlier this season. They've got Micah Parsons. Like, I wasn't hearing about how Dallas's major incomplete was their defense all year long. I mean, it feels like we're pulling on this as a convenient excuse to explain away yesterday. I do think that they have a pretty good defense. I think they got a pretty good offense because I didn't grow up, being bounced as a Niner fan on my daddy's knee. I don't have this visceral hatred for anything Cowboys, and I just look at them and I thought to myself, they could absolutely go to the Super Bowl. That's a really good football team with talent just about everywhere. But then it got to playoffs and they just shit the bed as hard as humanly possible. To me, that is your head coach needs to change. I mean, you can put it on their defensive coordinator.
It absolutely wasn't their defensive coordinator. I mean,
but again, I had not heard a single complaint about Dallas's defense until yesterday afternoon.
I just told you they played 7 bad teams and they crushed those teams, and they're a bully team that if you can't run the ball and they get a big lead, all of a sudden Dallas can turn 21-10 into 35-10 or 42-10 better than anybody in football. But the reality is they got gutted by the Niners. They got gutted by the Bills. In this game, they gave up 510 yards. I mean, 500 yards. That's a ton. And, Dallas is another thing. Prescott I always thought was hugely overrated. People talking about MVP. He had a better year this year because he threw it down the field less. He went shorter more, and he ran more. And he even ran in this game, and some of them were effective. But They were -2 on the turnover table, and I'd love to see the stats of teams' winning percentage when they throw a pick six. It can't be good.